3. This happened at the beginning of the year, when everything in my city is really quiet and lonely because everyone's on vacation. It was around 4 p.m. and I had gone to the mall that's near my house to get some waxing done, only to find the place closed because of what I said earlier. I exited the place and I heard a strange laughter to my left that caught my attention. I turned to see a tall man walking in the opposite direction of where I was going. The man noticed that I looked at him, so he changed directions to head in the same direction that I was going. I started to get a little nervous as the man was walking behind me and continued to emit the same weird laughter, always with the same tone, like the same laugh replayed again and again. The streets were completely lonely, so I started walking faster. Suddenly, the man got really close behind me, and then I heard him say,
"This is where you're going to die."
We were in a sidewalk next to an empty lot that is used nowadays as a parking lot. Now I was really scared, and I walked as fast as I could without running. Luckily for me, I suddenly ran into a girl that used to work with me in a candy store back in 2014. I said hi to her and immediately told her that this weird guy was following me and laughing all by himself, and I turned around to point at him. But by that point, the guy had suddenly crossed the street and was quite far away now, but still staring at me. He obviously changed his mind about following me after I ran into an acquaintance. He continued to walk along the opposite sidewalk until I lost track of him. I haven't seen him again, even though I walk the same street frequently.
Number 2.
So, about a year ago, I was hanging out with my friend, Brandon, at a park near where we lived, around 11:30 at night. We were on one of the dark, winding paths leading into a huge wooded area near his house. We'd sat here in this spot so many times before over the years. We were sitting on a bench that's maybe 300 to 400 yards from the park's open, more public area. Looking at the bench from the trail, I was on the left, closer to the forest, and Brandon on the right, closer to the park. The bench is right next to the trail, like a footway, and on either side of the trail is decently dense forest. It was summer in Texas, and I felt warm and safe since I'd been here so many times before. But also because Brandon is a 6-foot tall guy, and I'm a closer to 5 feet tall girl. We'd been at the park for hours, sitting on the bench, smoking and talking. We had a whole setup of our stuff sitting in between us. 2 pipes, grinders, lighters, backpacks, and other miscellaneous items. I mostly just mean to point out that we were very comfortable where we were, and had been lounged out in this area for hours, with a lot of personal items lying out. Brandon and we were both pretty baked as well. At this point in time, I started to discuss with him that I was dealing with some unknown health issues and that my doctors were monitoring my heart rate and had hounded me about keeping it significantly under 140. The atmosphere was steady and calm. As Brandon went to reply, suddenly we heard a man's very loud, very deep voice. My heart stopped, and the air, it felt so still. Brandon and I looked at each other, and I felt my heart drop right out of my chest because the look of fear on his face, it mirrored mine. The voice of the man wasn't just any level speaking voice. He was yelling a song or a chant. At the point that he began his melodic yelling, we could tell that he was within 50 feet of us. And as Brandon and I turned to where the voice was coming from, a figure comes into view. He's about 50 feet away, and all I can see is that he's wearing a white shirt and is closing in on us quickly. Brandon and I turn to each other once more, and he says in a hushed but urgent tone,
"Quick, we have to go."
My body, it went cold. This whole moment lasted maybe 3 seconds from the beginning of the chanting to Brandon declaring that we needed to leave. I grabbed everything of mine, not at all concerned with preserving my bud, and I shoved it into my bag. I stood up and tried to begin walking as swiftly as possible, all the while this guy is still chanting and running. Brandon stops me as he doesn't have all of his things back into his bag. The 2 seconds it took him to grab his things felt like minutes. I could now see the guy clearly coming towards us, and as soon as Brandon got up, we sprinted with all our power towards the open area of the park. Because of my health issues at the time though, I was sluggish and fatigued. I sprinted with all the force in my body, following behind Brandon. The further I fell behind him though, the louder the footsteps behind me became. I can actually feel this person closing in on me. I can sense that they are within 15 feet of me. My heart is pounding and adrenaline makes me feel as if cold blood is pumping through my veins. All I can do is push and try my best to keep up with Brandon, who was clearly trying to hold up so I could catch up, but also obviously didn't want to face whatever was just feet behind us. We never looked back. We ran through the woods, then the park, but still, even as we reached the neighborhood's main road, we could hear his shoes slapping against the pavement just behind us. We continued across the road and into another forest, where we ran until we couldn't. We were pretty sure that the guy stopped just at the edge of the main road we crossed, but we ran until we were sure he wouldn't find us again. At this point, we found a new bench to sit at and just tried to rationalize what had just happened. I called my mum to pick me up on our walk back to Brandon's that we only took once we felt that we were safe and unseen. I'm still not totally sure what happened or what was about to happen. We sometimes joke about this man running after us, yelling some earthy songs with words of another language, but we both know what happened that night was horrifying and inexplicable.
Number 1.
This story takes place in the beginning of the year, my first year as a freshman in high school. But first, a little backstory. Flashback to the 8th grade, and one of my best friends at the time, Jasmine, was known for dating around. It was non-stop. Think of a revolver door, honestly. Anyway, we went to school with this weird kid named Jordan. Jordan was always belting random things out in class to no response and talking loudly. Think awkward silence. Nobody really talked to him. Kids are mean, especially teenagers. Now, I've always been one to be nice to kids that are outcasts, because it's hard enough being a teenager with friends. It just so happens that Jasmine, and I'm quoting her on this one, had pity dated him in the past. He really weirded her out too. There were times when I would be hanging out with Jasmine and he would message me asking if she was okay, and to tell her that he said hi. I tried not to engage too much. I specifically remember one night I checked my phone and saw that I had missed a call from Jordan on Facebook Messenger. Curious, I messaged him. "You called?"
I just wanted to see if you would answer.
Slightly weirded out, I remember talking about it with my twin brother, who the next day then told Jordan to stay the fuck away from my sister, which he did because I can hardly remember anything else happening after that. At the beginning of this semester, we had 2 classes together, newspaper and PE, periods 1 and 2. I would usually walk out of my newspaper class after everyone else, taking my time with putting everything into my backpack. So did Jordan. He would usually follow me as we had next class together. When he would try to talk to me or say something, it always made me feel uncomfortable. I just had a weird gut feeling in my stomach, so I kept my replies short and gave off many body signals that I was not interested in conversing with him. A few weeks later, I noticed that a friend of mine would talk to Jordan during PE. Later realizing I had math with him, I brought Jordan up. He started laughing.
That kid has issues.
"What do you mean?" I asked. Still amused, he said,
He talks about shooting up the school and being a devil worshipper or some shit. I don't even know, man.
Completely not amused, I made sure to steer completely clear of him as much as possible. Soon, more weird comments about guns and weapons were made. One day, I was overhearing him talking about shooting himself. The next, it was him commenting to me while looking out the window that he wished he had a shotgun right now so he could shoot the window, then walk out. One morning, I got out of newspaper class, mixing in with the sea of kids scattered throughout the hallways in waves, until I felt 2 firm taps on my shoulder. I turned around. It was Jordan, pointing his hand at me in the form of a gun. As soon as I turned around, he fired 2 shots at me with his hand and blended into the crowd. I stopped walking, grabbed my phone out of my bag and called my mum, who immediately reported it to the school. They told my mum that they would take care of it, which they did, because after PE, my friend told me that he had been taken out of class. I never saw him again. In fact, no one has since last semester. I really hope that he got the help he needs, but I still wonder why it was that he paid me so much attention. I was actually nice to him. Would he have tried to actually hurt me? Or gone through the school shooting? I'd rather not know.
G'day mates, it's be.busta here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video guys. Thanks again to the Hive members that bravely shared their stories for us all here, and I hope you're all doing really well. For the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always, keep them coming guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent, just so that I can be above board with everything. And also remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. As always guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in guys, for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.